Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. Another episode of BU Podcast, part of Supermom's Magic Circle. Today we have an amazing woman entrepreneur, and I will introduce her in a second. Before we do that, I would love to let you know that I have another two slots available. Two free business clarity coaching for you guys. So if you are ready to take your business to the next level, just drop me a message with a fire. And if I see the fire, that means you are ready. So we can do a business clarity coaching session for free together. This is all. And now let's start and talking with Ciara Lewis. We have Ciara Lewis. She is an amazing, amazing entrepreneur. She's the owner of an incredible business she's going to talk with us about. And also, she has a magazine, and you're going to learn so much from it because I love the title for her magazine and what amazing things she does. So let's welcome Ciara. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Hi, thank you, Ciara, for saying yes to Be You podcast. I'm very excited to learn more from you and bring some value to our audience. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, my name is Ciara. I am from Eastern Kentucky, and I have a daughter who just turned 18. So that's been fun. I do run a business. My first business is KL Consulting LLC. It is a medical billing and credentialing business. So basically, I assist providers across the United States with their billing and credentialing needs.
Mm,
Um, my niche is more so with behavioral health, but I do work with all sorts of different specialties, primary care, podiatry, imaging, all. There's not too many that I don't do. Um, the other business that I do is, and it's really more so just a new start, but getting into becoming an author. So I do have several books that I've already published. I'm working on my first magazine, which is called Fierce and Fearless, Elevating Women Entrepreneurs. So I'm very excited about that. It's a new movement that I'm planning on getting up and going. So we're going to have some merchandise coming out, getting our podcast started up here in the next probably month or so, and a website. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where that goes. And I ran into Miss Roxandra, and she was very helpful and gave me some really good advice and tips that really kind of helped me refocus how to go about pushing the magazine out and getting some of the forms and things set up.
It's amazing. And thank you, Sarah, for mentioning that. I can't wait. We're going to go more into you as a mom because if your daughter is 18, I'm sure you can share with us a lot. And congratulations for your business. And like you mentioned, yes, we did work on your magazine because I love the title. I love what you do. And the mission behind the magazine, it's incredible. So you're all about empowering women, really giving them a voice, even if they're entrepreneurs or if they are in corporate job or if any type of job you do want to give them that space where they can be them. And the title, Fierce and Fearless, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So yes, we've been working together because I wanted to make sure, you know, sometimes we just have to keep it simple and sometimes you have to find ways to work for you. So that's beautiful. And I remember after we had one conversation, you said like you managed to sell a few of those slots and even the back cover of your magazine. So yeah, tell me more about that. How that made you feel?
Very excited and accomplished. So I felt like that was definitely a step in the right direction, especially like I said, going into something a little bit new, a little more challenging, which again, that's the whole reason why we have the name of the magazine, because I really think that becoming an entrepreneur is definitely a challenge and finding new avenues to go down, new strategies, pretty much pushing yourself out there. And so that's really kind of what pushed me to even start this magazine and gave me the name of the title. I feel like as women, we are put in a box for the most part. And I feel like within the last several years, we've seen women really and truthfully come outside of this box. But I think there's still so many that are scared to take that step out of the box because they're so used to being bound within. And I just want to be able to empower other women and let them know that it is okay to take that next leap and they're not by themselves. So this magazine is going to be so much more than just a magazine. Like I said, I want to create a new movement. shake things up a little bit. And I want to start bringing women outside of that shell, to let them know that it's okay, because I was definitely one of those. And one day I finally just told myself, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go for it because I deserve it. And I think that well, I didn't think, I knew I could make it work.
Mm.
And,
Wow.
it's just going through the challenges.
Good. And so I'm so glad you took that step. So talk with us a bit more about that experience.
So I originally was working at a behavioral health clinic, and I was getting so burnt out. I was tired of the 9 to 5. I was tired of I don't want to necessarily say being told what to do, but it becomes frustrating, especially being in the field that I'm in, which I'm sure this is probably any field, but with my particular field, people feel like I'm speaking like a foreign language a lot of times because a lot of people don't understand the healthcare industry or the lingo or none of that. And I just was getting to the point to where it seemed like people who didn't know anything about it were trying to tell me how to do my job, were trying to tell me what was best. And it was really becoming very difficult for me because I've been in this field for probably right at 13 years, if not longer. And I'm to a point to where I know what I'm doing. I know what is right, what's wrong, the ethics. And I just don't get very comfortable when people try to go against that or try to get me to go against that. And so that was the problem that I was starting to have. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to branch out on my own and see if I just can't reach more providers who are willing to accept the truth and want to be helped, want to save their practice. Um, and I've done that. And so far I've had quite a few people come to me, especially because most people that come to me, they are in a very, um, not so stable situation. A lot of clients, sometimes they may be right at getting ready to close their door,
Mm.
um, literally just not knowing where their money's at. So my job is to go in and put all the pieces together and help them define where that money is at, recover the money, see where all the issues are lying as to either why the claims are not going out or why they've been denied, and get all that fixed for them. Like I said, I also do credentialing.
Mm-hmm.
So I connect the providers to the insurance company so they can get paid and so that you can actually go in and see the doctor. So that's also a big part of the job. And I love it. I
Yeah.
literally eat, breathe, and sleep it. So
Well, congratulations, congratulations, because from what I'm hearing, I might be wrong, but I assume this industry it's mainly predominated by men. So is that right?
there are a lot of men in the field. But when it comes to the billing, I think it's becoming a mix. And I think that's the part that I'm really liking about it because, like I said, I've always been one for a challenge. There for the longest, yes, it was definitely more men that were trying to run this field. And I think that's almost with anything, which again is another reason why I wanted to start this magazine because men just think they run the whole world. They have the overall say over everything. And now that I'm seeing women step up into this field, like it's been a huge phenomenon, because it's powerful. It is. And it's a tough field. It's not for the weak. You definitely have to be ready to take on anything. You definitely have to be ready to accept no's. You have to definitely take on the constructive criticism. You're definitely going to have to go back to your drawing board more than one time and think of new skills, new ways to get across to people. So it's a never-ending story. Every day you wake up is not the same.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's definitely a challenge because you're not only up against yourself, you're up against pretty much the whole world. And
Right.
like I said, at this point, it's men and women.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations for taking that step. And that's huge because we do have moms in business. Mainly our audience are moms in business. And some of them, they are still trying to get out of their 9 to 5 job and still building a business. So what would you say? What's your advice for someone who wants to leave the corporate job and go 100% in a business?
I definitely think that the most important thing is find your stopping point. When you've reached that point, definitely form a game plan because that's what I was doing. I was already forming my business before truly even thinking about actually taking the leap. So I knew what my niche was, I knew where my specialty was, and I just started putting things together. I reached out to my local small business chapter. They pretty much helped me get, with my game plan set up, put everything in place, form the LLC. So, just definitely take the proper steps. Because to me, that was even a leap that most people wouldn't take. Because I know there's so many people that are scared to even just own the business, just get the business started.
Mm,
Um, because once it's on paper, it's yours. You have to follow through. And so once I'd done that, I knew there was no turning back. It was feet on the ground and let's go. And that's really what got me, you know, because I'd had enough. I was burnt out. I was ready to be done with it. And, I got my first client or two, which was funny because it came up by accident. I wasn't fully quite ready just yet, but, I thought, you know what? Why not? If it's going to work this quick, I'll take it. And so I ran with that first client, and within probably 2 weeks before I knew it, I probably had at least 5 people reaching out to me. Um, so I filled up pretty quick. Things obviously kept escalating from there, and that's where I'm at now. So, like I said, it's definitely about taking that first step. It doesn't always have to be a giant leap for the first time, but until you actually take that step, you're not going to truly know your full power. You're holding
mm,
yourself back. And, that's what done it for me, was to really let me know, hey, Sierra, like, you can do more than what you think you can. You just kept yourself in this corner and you try to abide by what everybody else wants or what everybody else says or their guidelines. And that's really not life, or at least it's not life for me. Some people are okay with that, but I knew I wanted more. And clearly raising a teenage daughter, just they're not cheap. But not only is it about the price, it's I want so much more for my daughter. I want her to have things that I was not able to have. And so I knew, if I could grow something of my own and leave that behind for her and make something of it, then I would say that I could have done more than for my daughter than I could ever have done for me, which my mom has done a lot for me. But um I think that's the purpose of being a parent, is we obviously want to give them what we were not able to have or
mm.
be in a place where we couldn't be. And I feel like I've managed to be able to do that for my daughter, and I want to continue to do so. So,
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And congratulations for doing that.
thank
So, as
you.
you might know, I have toddlers, so I'm not at that stage yet, but we do have lots of moms in my community and they have teenagers. So, I do hear lots of stories about it. What was your secret? How did you manage to be the mom that you wanted to be for your daughter? And what was there like a criteria? What exactly you said to yourself that I want for my daughter that you didn't have?
Life. My daughter is literally my life. I mean, it's amazing how much having a child will change your life. I think just having a child alone really empowers a woman. I really do. Even women who have children and they give them, up for adoption or whatever, I still think that there is something that internally changes that woman. I know mothering or parenting is not for everybody, and, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think at the end of the day, it really does something to you. And, once I had my daughter, I knew that I no longer existed. It was no longer about me. So every step that I've made since my daughter's been born has literally been for her. And I just knew, like I said, growing up, um, I'm not going to say we didn't have a lot, but we didn't have an abundance, if that makes sense. But I still had a great life. My mom still made things happen for me. My grandma still made things happen for me. Um, it was basically like having two moms. And between the two, they never let me go without whatever it was that I wanted, what I needed. And I wanted to make sure my daughter had that same option. So, and my mom and them, no one has ever truly been able to like leave anything behind yet in my family. And so I wanted to be the first to at least accomplish that goal. And I knew I wanted her to have something huge. something that, either she could still take and do something with, or if she wanted to sell it at the end of the day when it was all said and done, she can. I wanted to leave behind a legacy for her, something very important and valuable, something that I can't just hand to her. And I think that's pretty much what I've
Wow.
accomplished.
I love that. Leaving a legacy. Wow. I can tell the voice, the tone, everything. You really love your daughter. And I'm sure you've been an amazing mom for her. And just thinking that you want to leave a legacy for her. And you just said that it's okay. She can sold your business later on. That's huge. It's huge just for her own good. So that's really, really incredible. That's amazing. So, what would you say is the biggest challenge you have with her at the moment?
Oh, becoming an adult. It's really been very hard for me, especially because the world we live in now, obviously we can see all the changes that are happening, that seem like they're happening just in a snap of a finger. Um, and she is a very strong, young lady. She has been since the day she was born. I knew there was something different about her from the time I had her. I told my mom, I said, I don't know what this baby's going to do, but I'm telling you now, it's going to be something big. Like she has been headstrong since the day she come out. Um, she got her car at 16 and literally has been nonstop since. She graduated early, so she graduated in December. And since her graduating, she is now working two jobs and she's doing an internship twice a week. She goes to college in August, and it's literally like every time I turn around, she's just doing something, coming up with something, and I would like to think that I instilled a lot of that in her because, like I said, I have literally worked since I was 14. So she has definitely seen the work ethic. And when I started my business, I do think it was a little bit rough on her because, obviously starting a business, like I said, it's not for the weak. It's very time consuming. It did take a lot of my time. And so I think that was a bit of a challenge we did have in the beginning was trying to balance that time. But I think once she realized like what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, it kind of helped take away it kind of balanced everything out. There was more of an
Yeah.
understanding there. So I do think that she sees a lot of what I do and how I do things and how I carry myself, which I've always felt was very important for her. And it's starting to show. So, um,
Yeah, for sure. Congratulations. I have to say, that's our biggest accomplish. I think this is we as parents, when we see them out in the world, and when you see her getting a job, and like you said, driving since like she's doing so much, and it's definitely because of the way you raised her. Like that's 100%, I'm sure. And she has your ambitions, and your drive, and that inner motivation. And like you said, you work since we're 14, so that's wow, that's gold for her. Congratulations for the way you raised her, and we wish her good luck with the college and everything else she wants to achieve in this world.
thank you.
That's
Yes.
beautiful. Now let's go a little bit back to the magazine. Talk with us a bit more about the Fierce and Fearless. And why did you start this magazine?
So I started the magazine because I was actually selected to be in a very huge program with Goldman and Sachs. It's called 1,000,001 Black Women in Entrepreneurship. And again, just to be honest, that is something I never would have done before because of that shell. But I told myself, again, Sierra, you're going to have to put yourself out there at some point. You just have to do it. So I took the leap. We went to New York. I'm definitely not one for going into like these big event spaces by myself. I don't know why. I just never have been, but I'm telling you the power of women is something that I really just think you have to experience. I really
Mm,
do. Because the first time I stepped in that door, it was like a complete energy. It was a whole energy. I'd never seen or felt anything like it. I mean, there were so many women. It was crazy. And I remember the first day when they told us that we were selected there were 850 applicants, they had narrowed it down to 500 applicants. And then still out of the 500 applicants, we were selected to be like the top 100 applicants. So, and then of course they split those up into different, cohorts. So just to know that I was even like one in that like 850 applications that they selected, that said a lot to me. And so I knew from that point forward, like I have to make something of this. I have to do something because I can't let this go to waste, especially because no one in my family's ever been able to accomplish anything like that.
Mm.
And I think that was something else that kind of strived to help my daughter see, like, hey, my mom is actually out here doing something. And so, that alone made me say, I want to do more for women. I'm also a domestic violence, person. And that alone, like, I've always wanted to do something with that. I've just never really known how far I want to go with it or what I want to do. But after being there, I think I'm definitely ready to do more than what I was doing before. And so, again, that's how I came up with Fierce and Fearless, because just in that program alone, so many women shared their story as to why they never actually started their business or what prevented them from not going into it or how they thought they weren't worth it. And, that's when I realized we are worth it, each and every one of us, no matter what our struggle is, we are worth it. But being in
Absolutely.
that group let me know we're not alone.
Mm. Wow,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Wow. That's fantastic. I had no idea about that. So now I can celebrate with you. Wow.
Thank you.
And you are right. Like that energy, this is what I'm talking with my clients most of the time. Like you need to network. You need to put yourself out there. You really need to feel that you are in a room or even if it's virtually, because that energy, you feel it. Like they have the same goals like you, or they have a vision, they have a mission, and it's a different frequency. It's a completely different vibration. And they charge you up and they start seeing maybe in you something that you never saw and you never even managed to believe in it, or never even had the courage to think that something so big can happen. So that's beautiful. Congratulations for that. And you also mentioned the sensitive part that you are a survival of domestic abuse, which that's again, it's so vulnerable for you to say that. And I appreciate it because unfortunately, I see more and more lots of women are going through that and they
Yes.
are scared to talk about it and they are scared to leave. And yes, it's a really tough subject. And your title, Fearless, especially Fierce and Fearless, I think that will resonate with millions of women. And I really hope that your magazine will go exactly on the direction you want to go with it, because it's so beautiful. The reason why you want to bring the voices out there so everyone could share their stories. So that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. So let's talk a bit about life in general. So how do you see life? What's your perspective about life?
I'm definitely one that I believe everything happens for a reason. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but I am definitely a firm believer of it. Pretty much like me and you crossing paths for the second time, and I don't think anything happens by incident. So I think life is a chance, really. Which again I think is the reason why we have to learn at some point to jump. um, can't crawl for our whole entire life. If we do, we're obviously not going to get far. We're not going to learn. And like I said earlier, I think that falling is a big part of life. I do. I think it's necessary. I think it's very helpful. And just like with, constructive criticism, if we're not being told like what we're doing wrong, we're truly never going to learn because we can't see ourselves for how other people see us. We only see ourselves for what we think or what we feel. And, I'm very big on telling people like, please tell me. Like, I don't care how bad it is. Tell me. Like, if there is something I'm doing that you don't like, let me know. If I've said something, let me know. Like, if my appearance, like let me know. And I think that's one thing that I see with women. But again, this program I went to, it was like the women were so different. Nobody was above the other. No, like this was the first time I literally seen women come together and actually help each other. And to
No
me, that's
judgment.
huge. Yes, no judgment.
Mm,
It was huge. And I feel like every day that is a fight that we have to fight with other women because we have been trained to go against each other instead of help each other. And
yeah.
once I was in that room, I realized that's because they're terrified of the power we carry. Because
Mm,
again, we're powerful, very powerful. Just, I mean, even the men that were working there were like so shocked at the power that was carried in that room. And I mean, they got up and spoke on it. And just hearing them come out and say that and like admit the difference that they could literally feel just being in that room full of women was like, I don't know, it was a whole vibe. Um,
yeah,
yeah, because
absolutely.
you
No,
because you don't hear men speak on it often, they don't want to admit it, and being able to hear them actually get up and speak and say their true thoughts, it meant a lot to us. It was a very emotional thing because I feel like we're
mm.
overlooked a lot. We're not appreciated.
And it's fantastic, everything you just said early on. So, for you to be at that stage when you can take constructive feedback and you are open to it, that's huge. Like, honestly, that's huge. And obviously, you do whatever you want with that feedback, but at least you are aware and you are open to see a different perspective. It doesn't mean that you have to do as you are told, but at least you see different perspectives, which is great. And on the other side, the power of having someone in your corner, like you said, with no judgment, literally being there and supporting each other. It's exactly what I created in my group as well, my community, Super Moms Magic Circle, with exactly the same principle. Because I saw so many moms in business, they were struggling being a mom, trying to
Mhm.
put a business, that's going to work for them for as a family, and then comparing like I'm not good enough or I have the self-doubt or imposter syndrome. And I was like, hold on, let's see how can we do this together. And then once I started working more and more with more moms in business and they started interacting to each other, and this is how this community started. It was all because I knew everyone has a gift, everyone
Mhm.
has their true superpowers. And when we are together, we are just so much stronger. And I might not know the answer for someone's struggle, but guess what? Someone from the community could jump on and help. And this is how they support each other. They do workshops together, different other projects, retreats, summits, you name it. Like literally, they are together as a big family. And I love it. So I'm so glad you experienced that because that changes your life completely. Like the way you see it, like it's no competition anymore. Now it's about collaboration. And you're like, you're part of something big and you feel that you belong, because this is something I can see a lot, and I think is the biggest problem we have in world in general, in the world. We don't feel like we belong. We feel we're so
Well,
different.
another thing that I think we forget as women, and this is something that I like to remind people of, we have already accomplished the biggest thing to accomplish, and that's pushing out a child. So, if you are a mother at this point, you've already changed the game. You've already defeated like the whole battle because you've accomplished the hardest thing that there is to do on this planet that obviously men can't do. And that resonates a lot with me because being a mother, especially giving birth, is it's hard. It is. It's
Mm,
hard, and we think of how many moms die during childbirth or they, and I just feel like it's not appreciated enough because you're not just carrying a baby in there. Your whole body is changing. Your whole atmosphere is changing. And,
mm,
even once that baby comes out, you are not the same as you were before you had that baby. And so, I have to remind myself that you've already done the unthinkable that not just anybody can do. Um,
I love that perspective. I love it. Thank you so much for saying that. It's so important because we do lose our identity. As even if you're a mom of four, for example, every single time when you give birth, you are a different person. So
Yes.
it's extra work for us to rediscover who we are again and again. And our focus obviously is the child. I mean, it should be usually, but it's natural, right? Because we start to protect that child no matter what. But so many times we lose ourselves on the way. And
Yes.
this is really sad to see happening. And it's not like 20, 30, 40 years ago, where as a mom or as a woman, you could just stay home, look after the kids, and that's it. The society is expecting us to go to work because this is how life is. Either if it's your own business or if it's a job, doesn't matter. It's not just you're just looking after the house. If you're doing that, then yes, okay, you might be very privileged for that if your husband or your partner earns enough or if you are good. But unfortunately, the majority of us, we don't have that luxury.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ciara. So before I let you go, what would you say? What would be the last message you want to leave the audience with?
Just remember you're loved. That's the one thing. I think that we don't hear that enough as women, even in our relationships. I know that's, a battle I have with the relationship that I have. I don't know why it's so hard for men to say that or remind you of that, but just know you're loved. You're very loved and appreciated, and you're not alone. And I think yes, the love from our children is one thing, but I think even sometimes it's hard to, the older our children get, obviously there's that distance that gets in between there, right? That love changes, but it's still there, and that is a battle that I have had with my daughter. Because I think she has felt more distance from me the older she's gotten. But we still have to be mindful that at the end of the day, they still love us. And they know that we've been there to take care of them, protect them, or whatever. So, I think that, like I said, just being a mom, being a wife, being just a woman, we're just not reminded enough or cared for enough for who we are and what we do. But that's the message that I would leave with everybody is just remember and know that you are loved and you're appreciated and you're valuable and you're beautiful and you can do whatever you put your mind to. Because if you're a mother, you've already done, like I said, the biggest challenge of all. And now it's up to you to go from there to take the next step because you can do anything. And even if you're not a mother, you still have more power than you think you do. And it is very okay to take that next step. And there will be somebody there to catch you when you fall.
Wow, that's phenomenal. Thank you so much. What an ending, Ciara Lewis. Thank you so much. I will put all the details down so people can just come in your way a click away so they can find you on social media. If anyone is interested to show in Fierce and Fearless, please go and connect with Ciara. If you're interested about her business, especially if you're US based, please go have a chat with her and see how she can support you. This was beautiful. I really appreciate everything you said and thank you for your time. And it was an incredible interview. I really appreciate it. This was all from today. Whoever listened today, please go on Supermom's Magic Circle and ask any questions. And we're going to be there to support you. We're going to be there to answer any of those questions. And remember, I still have 2 slots available. If you are ready for your business to go to the next level, if you feel that something needs to change in your business and you need that clarity, just come and contact me. Okay. Send me that fire and then we can start working together and see how we can create more magic together. This was all from today. Be You podcast continues. Keep on smiling, keep on shining. Bye.